सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयः यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Yes. So yesterday we were seeing the philosophical import of the story. So there is this bull, there is this cow, and it is being tortured by a person, an uncultured person, a Shudra, wearing the robe of a king. So what are the four legs of dharma? Satyam, tapas, shaucham and daya. Yes. So these are the four legs upon which dharma stands. So how did we discuss this? Satyam is the truth. So dharma can stand only on truth. Everything that is dharmic is based on truth. This is one leg, the first leg. So as an individual, what is our dharma? Our dharma is the true self, which is Sat, Chit, Anand. So this is our true nature. We may know it, we may not know it. It doesn't matter. We may accept it, we may not accept it. It doesn't matter. Truth need not have your consent for its existence. So that leg is always there. So now the choice is up to you whether we should experience the truth or not. Our truth is Satchit Ananda, but the choice is given to us whether to remain in our ignorance or to strive for the truth. Strive to experience the truth. Choice is given to us. Choice is given to all. So what is it that we have to do in order to gain this knowledge, gain this truth? We have to do tapas. So in this tapas, we have all those sadhanas mentioned in the scriptures. Purification of mind through karma yoga, shravana, manana, nididhyasana of the scriptural statements. All these things come under this tapas. So what is the purpose of tapas? Tapas is not to gain any kind of supernatural powers or siddhis. The only purpose of tapas is to know myself as I am, to know the truth. So what is the end result of this tapas? The end result is the ego is totally dissolved, sublimated, and I come to know myself as a perfect, infinite, immortal, blissful self, which is of the nature of consciousness. So this is the end result of tapas. So as a result of tapas, what happens to my personality? My personality becomes a sweet personality, a cheerful personality, a peaceful personality, a dynamic personality. Because I come to know that this body, someday or other it has to perish, but fortunately this is not me. And who am I? I am consciousness, which is infinite, immortal, blissful, etc. So therefore, even when I am living my life, I really don't take the ups and downs of life seriously. I just play the role whichever is given to me in that particular, body, which comes to me as prarabdha. I play the role, but I don't take those roles seriously. So whole life, whatever the kind of happenings happen to me, I take it cheerfully, because I know that there is something higher than all this. So when I start seeing this consciousness as the core of my being, I come to know that I am consciousness with a body-mind intellect. I am consciousness with an impermanent body-mind intellect. BMI has to someday or the other perish, but I, the consciousness, will remain eternally. This is a great peace and it's a great relief. So now when I start meditating upon this consciousness as me, when I start identifying myself as this consciousness, slowly, you start, you start experiencing yourself as a state of conscious being. Identification with the body slowly drops, and now you come to know that you are Satchit Anand. So now when you see yourself as Satchit Ananda Atma, what do you see in others? You see the same Atma in others also. Earlier you were considering yourself as the body, so you see others also as the body. So there is this vision of plurality. I am different, he is different, she is different, etc. But now my attention has shifted to this consciousness. So now I start seeing everybody as the expressions of this consciousness. So then what happens? Instead of vision of plurality, I gain the vision of oneness. From this vision of oneness, what kind of thoughts will I encourage? What kind of emotions will well up in my heart? These emotions will be pure emotions, noble emotions. So this mind filled with noble emotions, such a mind becomes a pure mind, and this is what is called as Shaucham. There is purity, Shuchitvam is there. Mind has become pure, mind is filled with noble emotions. Love, compassion, mercy, humility, surrender, tolerance, acceptance, forgiveness. These are all the expressions of a pure mind, a noble mind. So this is at the mind level. Now what happens at the body level? With this right understanding, with this purity of mind, naturally whatever actions I involve in, those actions will be actions of service. It will be that of selfless service. You are not expecting anything in return. Then what is the motivation behind this action? All these selfish actions are motivated by only one thing, that is compassion, daya. Daya is the motivating factor. You are compassionate because when you see others, you are seeing yourself in them. So when they suffer, you feel the suffering, and so therefore you involve yourself in removing the suffering of others. So at the intellect level, there is clarity because you are holding on to truth. At the mind level, there is purity. At the physical level, there is service. This is the ideal way of living. This is called a dharmic way of living. So dharmic way of living is possible only and only when you hold on to the truth, satyam. So now in a society where all people are dharmic, so till now we have seen the case of one person. Now just imagine a society filled with such dharmic people. Imagine a world filled with such dharmic people. What kind of world that will be? It will be Ramarajya, it will be, isn't it? It will be a wonderful world. Everybody is thinking, what can I give than what can I take? Everybody is producing more than consuming. Everybody is giving more than what they take. And this way, when you say, you will find prosperity everywhere. Plenty and prosperity. Right? That will be the condition of Mother Earth. So here that earth is nothing but cow. It has come in the form of cow. So what kind of king will the dharmic people select? The dharmic people will select only a dharmic king, isn't it? So therefore, when the king is dharmic, when the prajas are dharmic, such a world becomes heaven upon earth. That earth itself will become heaven. So this is what is the meaning when it is said, Raja Parikshit restored the other three legs of dharma. Restoring the legs doesn't mean that he did a surgery. Implanted these legs. That is not the meaning. These fundamentals have to be understood. Make each and every person dharmic, then the society will become dharmic. That is the way to restore dharma. Dharma has to be restored in the hearts of people. And this can be done only by giving them right knowledge. So by encouraging the institutions which give knowledge, and by encouraging people to gain this knowledge, and as a king, he has the power, so he can do all these things with his power, and thus dharma is propagated, dharma is encouraged. So then we have a dharmic society, a dharmic country. This is how you restore dharma. Encourage people who are dharmic. Encourage this knowledge which will inspire others to become dharmic. This is the way you restore dharma in the society. And as a king, you have all the powers, so easily you can do it. So this is the meaning when it is said, Raja Parikshit restored this dharma. Now let us consider today's situation. What is today's situation? Satyam is there. One leg is there. Now this bull is standing on one leg in Kali Yuga. And this Kali is trying to break that leg also. Is it possible? It is not possible because truth cannot be destroyed by illusion. In the film, white screen is there. This white screen cannot be burnt by the movie fire. White screen cannot be drowned by the movie flood, isn't it? Because truth is truth, untruth is untruth. Untruth cannot affect the truth. So Kali and all this world and worldly problems, etc., everything is at the realm of untruth. Untruth cannot destroy the truth. So therefore, this dharma's one leg will remain all the time. But the second leg, tapas, yes, it can be destroyed. What is tapas? Tapas is the effort of an individual in order to know this truth. This truth is nothing but the self. So this individual is putting forth effort to know this great truth in himself. Now this effort put forth to know the truth, it can be hampered. Right? Now in this society, now we are not talking of the what you call wise people. Wise people gain the knowledge, get liberated and go away. Now we are talking of ignorant people. These ignorant people, there are two types. One kind of people, they don't do tapas at all. Because they don't know that there is such a reality. So when there is not even a faith that such a reality exists, where is the question of putting forth effort? Majority of the people belong to this category. So what rules in them? Tapas is replaced by, now see the term here, smaya. Smaya means ego. So what is the condition of a person who doesn't know the truth, who is not putting forth effort to know the truth? What will be? Where will he be? He will be remaining eternally in the state of ignorance. And what is the state of ignorance? Knowing oneself to be this BMI. Never questioning one's own nature, one's own identity. This is the state where ego perpetually remains. Effort is not put to destroy it, so therefore it remains. So tapas is replaced by the ego. Ego means identification with the body, mind, intellect. Now there is a second category of people. They do tapas. But they are not very clear of what this tapas is, how it should be done, what is the purpose of this tapas. They don't know. They do varieties of spiritual sadhana but without any clarity. So what happens in their case? They do tapas, but in the process of doing tapas, the ego is bloated. The more the tapas they do, the more the spiritual sadhana they do, the greater becomes the ego. This is another kind of people. They are spiritual people. They are immature people, the beginners of spirituality. Normally you will find this kind of category. They do tapas. Lot of japa is done, sadhana is done, rituals are performed. But what is happening in the process? In the process, they have this feeling, holier than thou attitude. I am a great sadhaka. I get up early in the morning. Oh, yes. And I do 100 malas of japa every day. Oh, 6 hours of meditation every day. Oh, only once I take food. Oh, I don't wear clothes, etc. in the winter. There are such sadhakas. Varieties of specimens are there in this world. So the more the sadhana they do, more they are bloated in their own ego. They feel that they are great people, they are highly dispassionate people. So now what is happening? Is he evolving or devolving? What should happen with your tapas? Your ego should get destroyed or ego should increase? He is putting forth effort and all his effort is giving counterproductive result. He is becoming counterproductive. Instead of having a pure mind, he is building up an impure mind. All these kind of sadhakas we find in the society. They are doing sadhana, no doubt, but in the process they are becoming more and more egoistic. So what is happening? The tapas is being replaced by smaya. In both the cases it is the same. Smaya means ego. So the tapas is destroyed by the ego. The end result of tapas is the ego should get sublimated and the self should shine forth. Now in this tapasvi what is happening? Ego is bloating more and more, and the more and more tapas he does, the more and more he is away from the self, because the ego is becoming strong. The only thing which prevents you from experiencing the self is the ego. And if the ego itself is becoming strong, we must say that he is not progressing, he is regressing. Now, so this is tapa replaced by smaya. What is next one? Shaucham. Shaucham is replaced by sangha. Sangha means attachment. Now what happens to this egoistic person next stage? as an ego, you can never experience the bliss of the self. The condition to experience the infinite bliss, infinite fulfillment of the self, the condition is you must be egoless. And this is what happens when you surrender unto God. When you surrender unto God, you experience the joy, the peace, etc., because the ego is not there. To the extent the ego is not there, to that extent the flood of peace emanating from the self, it surges forth. So now because he has this ego, and because of this ego, he is not able to experience the peace and happiness within. So where will he search peace and happiness? Inside it is not there, he will start searching outside. So the only experience of peace which he will get is the pleasure coming from the external world. Little, in fragments. And whenever he gets little pleasure, little peace, little joy from the outer world, what is the tendency? Because this is the only source of happiness, he gets attached to it. You understood? For a billionaire, 10 rupees is nothing. But for a beggar, 10 rupees is a big amount. Isn't it? A person who is experiencing the bliss of the self, he is a billionaire with respect to that bliss. So for him, the external pleasures are nothing. He remains unattached. Nothing can tempt him to get attached to the outer world. Because he is experiencing so much of joy, automatically the detachment becomes natural to him. But for this person, he is not experiencing the joy of the self. Naturally, he will be attached to the, things, beings and situations of the world. Attachment means what? Attachment means intense likes and dislikes. Intense affinity. So intense likes and dislike is nothing but impurity of the mind. So see, Shaucham is replaced by Sangam. Purity is replaced by impurity. So he will be attached to this Kamini, Kanchana, Kirti, and that mind will be full of Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. This is the kind of mind he will possess. What is the mind the other person possesses? Shaucham. Love, forgiveness, compassion. Now just see the difference. Just the opposite. Now what kind of actions will he perform? Such a person who is filled with all these kinds of negativities, what kind of actions can you expect from him? This person is an egoistic person. The only joy he experiences in life is when the ego is bloated. There is a joy in that also. When the ego expands, there is a joy. For example, you did something and somebody praised you. You feel a joy or not? Yes. What is that joy? The joy is the expansion of ego. You have an opinion about yourself in something. When that opinion about yourself increases, expands, there is a joy. This is called the joy of the ego. Right? Now, how to increase the joy of the ego? In the eyes of others, I should be high. That gives a joy. So, if another person has a small car, I should have a bigger car. That gives a joy. It's the joy of the ego. Right? My house should be biggest. My car should be biggest. My children should be the brightest and the smartest. They are all the expressions of ego only. Whatever I possess, it should be the best. I should be loved. I should be recognized. So the only joy which this egoistic person experiences in life is the joy of winning, the joy of conquering, the joy of defeating, the joy of awards and rewards, the joy of honor. This is the joy which an ignorant man experiences in life. So now what kind of actions will he do? Any action which will give him egoistic joy, he will indulge in that. It may be even serving others also. So have you seen politicians? They want to give something. They want to donate some money to the poor. So what will you do first? Donating is not the main goal. Compassion is not the main motivation. What is the motivation behind doing this good? The motivation is others should know that I am a very large-hearted person. So what will he do? He will call all the newspaper reporters, TV channels, and then he will give. Right? So till this camera is ready, he will not give. Right? So see, Daya is replaced by Mada. Mada means arrogance, Mada means show off, Mada means hypocrisy. All his actions are filled with that only. So at the intellectual level, when there is lack of clarity regarding the knowledge, it expresses at the emotional level, it expresses at the bodily level. We are talking of the individual now, right? Now let us expand. Now this is individual. So such a person becomes an adharmic person. His life is not based on dharma. His life is based on only two, artha and kama. There is no dharma, there is no moksha for him. Moksha is possible only when you believe in a truth, and when you believe that that truth is attainable and that is far more higher than my present condition. When this knowledge is there, then you strive for that. So his life is purely artha kama based. Such a person becomes a materialistic person. He can never become a spiritual person, because he doesn't believe in spirit. He only believes in materials. And the only joy he has is the joy of indulging in the pleasures, the joy of the world. He doesn't know the joy of the self. So naturally his seeking will be all worldly seekings. Such a person naturally becomes an adharmic person. Now what happens to a society where people are all adharmic? What happens? Such a person will choose what kind of king? When you say a representative of a group, representative means what? The one who has similar behavior and one who is best in that. Isn't it? Who becomes the don in the underworld? The best among the criminal alone can become the don, the leader. Isn't it? So in the same way, when a society is guided by adharmic principle, what kind of king will come for them? The king also will be a rank holder in adharma. And that is what is presented here as this Kali, with the robe of the king, but the behavior of a Shudra. Who is the king? He is a representative of people. Yatha praja tatha raja. Now the presentation is very, very interesting. What is the kind of dress he is wearing? He is wearing the dress of a king, but he does not have any of those qualities of the king. The dress can be kingly. Kingly dress means it is indicating Kshatriya, isn't it? But what is his behavior? His behavior is that of a Shudra. Now we have to understand what are these four. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Who is a Brahmana? Brahmana is the one who has maximum sattva, minimum tamas. SRT, sattva, rajas, tamas. A person doesn't become Brahmana because he is born in a Brahmana family. We are not talking of jati. We are talking of gunas, virtues. So who is a Brahmana? Brahmana is a person who has maximum purity, and therefore his mind is extremely pure. Shaucham is there, tapas is there, daya is there. Such a person is called a Brahmana. Extremely pure. And tamas is minimum. What is the next category? Next is Kshatriya. In Kshatriya, what is the order? It is RST. Rajas first, but it is backed by Sattva. So what kind of person he'll be? He'll be a very active person, but selflessly active person. Because Sattva is backing Rajas. Rajas is first, therefore he'll be active. And because Sattva is backing Rajas, he'll be a selflessly active person. Such a person becomes a leader wherever he goes. A king should have this combination, RST. He must be very active, but he must be selflessly active. Such a person is fit to become the king. Brahmana is not fit to become the king. Why? His mind is so pure, he is more addicted to meditation and all those things. He has no interest in doing this work, that work, etc. His mind is so pure. So why you unnecessarily get involved in all these activities? Better sit and meditate and realize. This is what the Brahmana will do. But a Kshatriya has no such purity. But at the same time, he has activity. But R is supported by Sattva. So now in society, he becomes selflessly active. Such people should become kings, leaders. Then that organization prospers. Now what is the condition of this person? Okay, now coming to the third, Vaishya. Who is a Vaishya? RTS. Rajas is supported by Tamas, meaning he will be a selfishly active person. He is also active. But what is the motivation? He wants, therefore he is active. Such a person also cannot become the king. Kshatriya alone should become the king. And the last one is Shudra. What is the condition of Shudra? Tamas, Rajas, Sattva. Sattva is minimum, Tamas is maximum. Now such a person has become the king here. Kali is depicted as a Shudra here. Now let us discuss this Shudra characteristics. Please keep in mind, we are not talking of family, birth, etc. We are talking of mind. So which means a person may be born in a Shudra family, but he can become a Brahmana if his mind is pure. And the reverse is also possible. Now let us discuss the condition of a Shudra, because that case has come here. So what is the Shudra category? It is TRS. Tamas means inactivity and minimum Sattva means ignorance. So these are the principle based on which he will guide himself. Minimum activity, a life of ease, a life of comfort, a life of inactivity, a life of total ignorance. So whenever he wants to do something, these are the questions he will ask. What is that? Can I get it easily? Can I get it quickly? I don't bother about the consequences. These are the principles based on which his thinking is guided. Now let us see the 5 things what are mentioned here. So Parikshit had told Kali, what did he say? These are the 5 places you can stay. Right? Now what are these 5 places? Dyutam, gambling. Panam, drinking. Striyaha, prostitution. Suna, slaughterhouses. And the 5th one, Jatarupa, gold. Now the first one. These are the things which a Shudra will be automatically attracted to. What is the first one? Dyutam, gambling. In gambling what happens? Quick money. Easy money. You don't have to put forth any effort. So here Bhagavan says it is anurtam. Anurtam means dishonesty. Now please understand, here gambling doesn't mean only gambling. If a person is trying to earn illegal money, then that is gambling only. So why is it called dishonest? It is called a way of dishonesty because Bhagavan has given each and every one of us the abilities, the talents. So how are we supposed to earn our wealth? We are supposed to employ these abilities, talents, etc. for the welfare of the world. And when we do service to the world, in return, we get this money. So how are you supposed to earn your wealth? By employing your God-given abilities in the service of the society, you are supposed to earn your wealth. Then that becomes a honest money. That will bless you. And that will bless everyone also. That is Shreyas. But in gambling or in all the illegal ways in which we earn money, what is happening? Society is not at all benefited. Isn't it? In gambling, you get a lot of money. That is easy money, that is quick money. And that money has come in a dishonest way because you are not making use of your abilities in order to serve the society. A Shudra will be attracted to this very fast because he is a tamasic person. He doesn't want to work. He wants to remain inactive, at the same time he wants money. So what will he do? He enters into all this. He is attracted by all these temptations in the society. Are you able to follow what I am saying? These are all Shudra attitude. So there may be a doctor who is well read, etc., but he will be a Shudra if he is exploiting the helpless situation of the patient and if he is making money. Then he will not belong to the Brahmana class, he will belong to the Shudra class only. Right? What is the next one? Dyutam Panam. Panam means drinks. Easy peace. What is the easiest way of gaining peace without putting forth any effort? Have drinks. I am not suggesting it. The real way of gaining peace is live a dharmic life, control your senses, control your mind, make your thoughts pure, enter into meditation, withdraw your senses, look within. This is the way to gain true peace. Lot of effort is necessary. Lot of sadhana has to be done. But there is a way in which quickly you can get that peace. What is the way? Have drinks. So what will this alcohol do? Alcohol forces your mind to become peaceful. So under the intoxication of the alcohol, the mind becomes peaceful. That is why we experience peace when we drink. So what is the easiest way of gaining peace? Everyone wants peace of mind. So the easiest way is without any sadhana. If there is a way, the way is go to a liquor shop, have 2 pegs and that's it. Easiest way. Now remember, this is a tamasic person, so he is bothered only about easy peace. He is not bothered about the consequences. Why? Because in a Shudra, Sattva is minimum. Sattva represents knowledge. He is not bothered about knowledge. He doesn't have that sensitivity to see the consequences of those actions. He's a very superficial person, a gross person. He doesn't have that sensitivity. So he sees only the immediate peace, immediate pleasure. He doesn't worry about the consequences. So this is Panam. Dyutam, Panam, Striyaha. Striyaha means worldly pleasure in general. Every worldly pleasure is very easy to get. The moment senses come in contact with the sense object, you gain the pleasure. But what is the problem with that pleasure? Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate adyantavantak kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Wise people don't revel in those pleasures because it is nothing but wombs of sorrow. It has a beginning, it has an end. It has lot of limitation. You become addicted to that object. You become a slave of the mind. All your vitalities are drained away. Seeing all these defects, the wise people don't indulge in these pleasures. But now we are not talking of a wise person. We are talking of an otherwise person, a Shudra. So who is a Shudra? He doesn't see the consequence. He sees only immediate pleasure. So Triyaha, worldly pleasures. And the next one, Suna. Suna means slaughterhouses. Now again, don't limit the meaning to mere slaughterhouses. The tendency to harm others. This is what you have to understand. A life given to violence. So this person wants his thing to be done. So if suppose one person is coming on his way, he will not bother to slash his head off, cut his head off, and clear him off. And this is what all these gundas, etc. do. Some person becomes a problem. So how to remove the problem? Finish him off. That's it. All the underworld, etc. This is the kind of story. They are all tamasic people, all Shudras only. And another thing is, they are not worried about the punya papas also. Because sattva is minimum, there is no knowledge. These people, they don't believe in a life after death. According to them, whatever the senses show them, that alone is true. Whatever I see, whatever I hear, whatever I taste, that alone is truth. There is nothing called God, there is nothing called punya, there is nothing called papa. You can do anything provided the police not see, that's all. If you can escape from the police, then that is not papa at all. This is the kind of mentality they have. Very gross level of thinking. Gross people. No knowledge at all. Utterly in ignorance. So such people, what kind of life they will lead? Life of violence. They harm others and they are insensitive to know that other people are hurt through my words, through my actions. Such people are there in the society. They tell something, the other person is hurt. This person doesn't even feel. The others are hurt. He has a heart of a stone. No feelings at all. Absolutely opposite is the sattvic person. Even before uttering a word, he thinks twice. If I say this, will that person be hurt? How should I frame my sentence in such a way that message is conveyed, at the same time other person doesn't feel bad? All these things he thinks, and then he speaks. Just opposite is this Shudra. He negatively reacts to the situation, and therefore he gives lot of pain to everyone around. So slaughterhouse doesn't mean only going to the what you call butcher shop and cutting all those animals. That is not. You have to understand the deeper import. Any kind of violence, harming others. And now the fifth one is, what is the fifth one? Jatarupa. Jatarupa means gold. Gold means, in short, wealth. So these are the people for whom wealth is the highest devata to be worshipped. Why so? They don't know anything about peace of mind, purity of mind, nobility of mind, the joy born out of peace, what you call purity of mind. They don't know it. They don't know the joy of the self. They know only one joy, the joy of indulgence. So for indulging, you need object of indulgence. And to get the object of indulgence, you need money. So therefore, money becomes their highest priority in life. And very interestingly, superficially, if you watch, it appears that money can get you everything. A rich person is considered smart, intelligent, hardworking. This is the general, what you call, mentality of the crowd. If a person is rich, definitely is hardworking, because money will not come just like that. And he is smart also. He is intelligent also. Unintelligent people can't make money. And moreover, a person who is rich, he has got the best of things in this world. Isn't it? Anything which is best in this world, price is high, a rich person is able to get it. So therefore, a rich person has got comfort, he has got luxury, he has got respect in the society, he has got power, he has got influence, he has got everything, whatever can make a person happy. So therefore, automatically a Shudra mentality is, in life, one thing which is the most important is wealth. If you have wealth, everything is fine. So then what kind of life he will lead? By hook or crook, earn wealth. This will be his philosophy in life. Right? Now here Kali is depicted as a Shudra with a royal dress. Just for namesake, the dress is royal. But basically he is a Shudra. He is an utterly selfish, sensuous, ignorant person. Now what happens when power is given to such a Shudra? What happens when such a person becomes a representative of this country? What happens? How will he treat this Mother Earth? He will destroy this earth. And that is what is happening in the present times. He is not bothered about giving, he is only bothered about taking. So see, trees are cut millions and millions. How much do we think to plant the trees? At present, that is the condition. Kali Yuga means what? Exploit. Just imagine throughout this world, how much vehicles are running on the road. How much industries are functioning. They are all functioning based on petroleum products. Correct? Now just imagine at what rate the petroleum is being extracted from the underground in order to supply the whole world. What should be the rate in which the petroleum is being taken? Just imagine. And this is happening for years and years. Few more years and what is going to happen? Now itself the signs have come. What is that? Osmos. What is that? Ozone layer. There is a hole in the ozone layer. Some few days back there was a report that from icebergs from Antarctica or something, it has started coming down. And now there is a Kaveri water problem. what do these instances, what is it indicating? It is only indicating that people are becoming more and more selfish. They are exploiting this mother nature, and a time will come when this mother nature will not be able to support life system upon this earth. Indications are given, isn't it? This is what happens when Shudras come as king. They have no knowledge about life. What they think is, anyway, for another 50 years petroleum is there, by that time our life is also over. Who cares about the future? Very many people think that way. Who cares about our future and next generation? At least our generation, enough resources are there. That's more than enough. After death, who cares? This is Shudra mentality. We are bothered only about ourselves. And therefore, loot, plunder, indulge, destroy. Who cares? Right? So this is the meaning that Shudra is kicking this cow. I am telling all this thing only for that. So this cow is hungry. It has become lean, thin, tired, exhausted, calfless. Calfless means what? Milkless. Milkless means there is nothing else to give. Because everything has been taken out from her. Now she is in tears. She is helpless. So here we are not talking of some cow. We are talking of this Mother Earth only. So these stories are put in a, these stories have got a spiritual message. It has got a philosophy behind. So just don't read the story and go. Yes, for small children, stories, that's all. There was one bull, there was one cow. Bull did not have 3 legs. And then Parikshit fitted the 3 legs and that's over. That is okay. But the deeper message has to be understood. Right. So now let us move forward from this cow and bull story. So Raja Parikshit, he restored these 3 legs. And then again, Mother Earth came back to her previous state of prosperity, etc. And this way, this king ruled the kingdom wonderfully well. Now the next story is about how this king was cursed by a Brahmana boy. So what is said here? One day, ekada dhanurudyamya vicharan mragayam vane mrigananugata shrantah kshuditastrushito bhrisham. One day, this king, he had gone for hunting. So he was hunting so many animals. And as he was chasing one deer, he got into some wild forest, got lost. And by that time he was very hungry, thirsty, tired. And then what happened? As he was searching for some source of water, he came across one ashrama. And what did he see there? In the ashrama, Dadarsha Munim Asinam Shantam Melita Lochanam. So he came to an ashram. There he saw one Muni. A saint was seated there, closing his eyes. He was seated in meditation. Very peaceful person. And what was his condition? Pratiruddhendriya prana mano buddhi uparatam. He had controlled his prana, indriya, manas, buddhi, everything. He had gone to that state of turiya. Sthanatrayat param praptam. He has gone beyond waking, dream and deep sleep. He had attained that state of turiya. Brahma bhutam avikriyam. He had become one with Brahman. That was his state. So this Muni was seated there. So this Raja Parikshit, he came and he saw this Muni seated in meditation but attained Samadhi. So how was this Muni? Viprakirna jatachannam rauravena cha. Full of matted locks, wearing the deer skin, etc. His hairs was scattered here and there. So this way the Muni was seated. So this Raja saw this Muni. He came near this Muni and then he requested for some water. So now this Muni was in Samadhi. So naturally he was not aware of all this. Maybe the king might have asked twice, thrice. No response came from the Muni. And then Parikshit became very angry. So it is said here, that is not his, swabhava at all. It was not the nature of Parikshit to get angry, especially towards some saint, etc. He used to revere them, love them. He was very devoted to them. But at that moment, because he was very tired and exhausted, because he was very hungry and thirsty, because of all this, his mind was totally disturbed, and moreover, hunting. Hunting is again nothing but violence. Because of the influence of all this, it is said, abhutapurvaha sahasa, abhutapurvaha. It was not at all his nature, and never in his life, he had this kind of anger or hatred. Never was there in his life. But at that moment, he felt a strange kind of anger, a kind of hatred feeling towards this Muni who was not responding to him. Forget about welcoming and giving seat, etc. Not even responding. So he became so angry, and what did he do? There was a dead snake there. Sadhu Brahma Rishe Ramse Gatasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachan Dhanushkotya Nidhaya Puram Agamata. With the tip of the bow, he lifted that dead snake and put it around the shoulder of this Muni. The purpose of putting was, let me see whether this fellow is pretending or is he really in Samadhi. Just imagine a dead snake is put around you. What will you do? You will jump screaming, isn't it? So actually Parikshit had done this in order to test whether this person was really meditating or pretending to be meditating. Why pretending? If I open my eyes, then I will see him, then I will have to get up, then I will have to offer asana to him, then I will have to offer drink to him. A total disturbance. Better pretend that you are meditating. Then all these botherations are not there. So this king wanted to test whether this saint was really meditating or pretending. So for that he just put this, dead snake while coming, and then left it and then walked back. Then what happened? Somebody saw this. Now this Rishi, his name is Shamika Rishi. Shamika. The names are not mentioned here. In some other, I think Mahabharata it is mentioned. The same story comes there. So this Rishi, name was Shamika. Shamika Rishi. And now this Rishi had a son. Tatra putraha ati tejasvi. Extremely brilliant, bright, having great spiritual power. He had a small son, maybe 5 years, 6 years. And this son was playing somewhere near some river bank or somewhere, along with children of same age. He was playing there. Somebody saw this event and then told it to him. The name of the son is Shrungi. Son's name is Shrungi. Father's name is Shamika Rishi. And when he heard that his father has been insulted by the king, he became so angry. And then he compares this king with a dog. He says, a dog is supposed to remain outside. How dare that the dog comes in and eats whatever is meant for the honor in the same plate? In the same way, Kshatriyas are meant to protect the Brahmanas. How can a Kshatriya do like this? Whoever he may be. Oh, I think because now Krishna is no more. Krishna, the one who is a hammer for all these, unrighteous people. Now that Krishna is not there, so he is misusing the power. Right? I will teach such people a lesson. Saying this, he told all the boys nearby, Ityuktva roshatama vayasyan rishibalakaha kaushikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjaha. Saying this, he purified himself. So this Kaushiki river was flowing nearby. He took some water and then pronounced this curse, which was irresistible like thunderbolt. And what did he say? Iti langhita maryadam takshakaha saptame hani dangshyati sma kulangaram chodito me tadadruham. As directed by me, On the seventh day, Takshaka, the serpent, will bite this king, who is a Kulangara, who is a threat to his own clan. Such an unrighteous fellow has no right to live. He must be finished. And saying this, he uttered this curse. What is the curse? Seventh day from today, he should be bitten by none other than Takshaka, the serpent, whose poison is there is no cure for the poison of Takshaka. Let him be bitten by the snake. Thus, he cursed the Raja. And after cursing, he was very much disturbed. He came back to his ashram. Father was sitting there with all that snake, etc. And he started loudly crying. He was a small boy. Pitaram viksha dukkhartaha mukta kanto rurodaha. He started crying loudly, seeing the condition of the father with all this snake, etc. And when this child started crying, this disturbed the Rishi. The Rishi woke up from his samadhi, hearing this. And when he opened his eyes, he found that there is a snake. He just threw the snake away. He did not take it seriously at all. He just threw the snake, and then he asked this boy, "Why are you crying? What happened to you? Who harmed you?" And when this Rishi asked this, the boy told the entire story. And when this boy told the story that he has cursed the king also, now this Rishi, it is said, Sab Brahmanaha na atmajam abhyanandata. He did not congratulate the boy. "Oh, my dear child, you did wonderful, very good." No. He was so sad. He started burning in regret. This Shamik Rishi. See the greatness of this Muni. He say, "Oh, Ajna, oh foolish fellow, what have you done? For such a small mistake, you have given such a big punishment. Are you aware of the consequences, oh foolish boy?" A king is supposed to be considered as an expression of the Lord. He should not be considered as an ordinary human being, because it is this king who is protecting the entire subjects. People are happy, people are peaceful. They have a sense of security, all because of the king. It is because of the might of the king that the human society is safe. Just imagine what happens when the king is not there, oh foolish boy. Have you ever thought of it? What happens when the king is not there? Lawlessness, orderlessness will prevail. The gundas will rule the world. There will be quarrel, there will be fight, there will be killing, there will be stealing. People will steal others' wealth, others' women, cattle, everything they will steal. Have you ever thought of the condition of a society where there is no king? Oh child, what have you done? For such a small mistake, you have given such a big punishment. And what kind of king is this? Now here's a description. Dharmapalaha narapati satu samrat brihatshavaha sakshan mahabhagavataha. He's not an ordinary king also. He's such a great devotee of the Lord. A person who has been living a life of righteousness, a protector of righteousness. Where will you get such a wonderful king? World famous for his goodness, for his nobilities, for his virtues. Yes, he did such a mistake, but that was because of Srama Yutaha Dinaha. That at that particular condition, he was very tired, exhausted, mind was disturbed, hungry, thirsty. Whenever we also when we go through such states, it is natural that the mind is disturbed, and when the mind is disturbed, some small mistakes, such things happen. But we are not supposed to take such things seriously. So this way, and then the father started praying for his son. Oh Lord, please forgive this stupid boy. He has cursed such an innocent, harmless, apapeshu swabhrityeshu. He has cursed an innocent devotee of yours. Oh Lord, please forgive this ignorant boy. Out of ignorance he has done this. Please forgive. And this, then what was happening? Anutapto Mahamunihi. That Mahamuni, Anutaptaha. Anutaptaha means he was burning in the fire of regret. What a big mistake my son has committed. So now here it is said, what is the true sign of a saint? It is said, Tiraskrita vipralabdha shapta kshipta hata api nasya tat pratikurvanti tad bhaktaha prabhavo api. What is the true sign of a bhakta of a Bhagavan? A true sign is, even when he is tiraskrita, disrespected, vipralabdha, he is cheated, deceived, shaptaha, even when he is cursed, kshiptaha, even when he is criticized, hata, even when he is beaten, nasya tat pratikurvanti, he never has an attitude to take revenge. Even when others are beating him, criticizing him, disrespecting him, even when everything goes on, there is not even a feeling of taking revenge, retaliating. Even though bhaktaha prabhavaha api, he is capable. He is capable of taking revenge, retaliating, but he will never do it. He will forgive. This is the true sign of a saint. So Shamika Rishi was a role model. Therefore it is said Mahamuni. So he is telling his son, oh my dear son, this is what you are supposed to do. You may be having what you call tapobala, etc. But you are not wise as long as you don't have this ability. You are not a true devotee of God. And this way, that Mahamuni, though injustice was committed against him, but he never even thought of retaliating. So this, what you call part ends here. Now the camera shifts to the other part. What is the other part? What happens to Parikshit after he goes back? What happens is he also starts repenting. What a big blunder I have done. Bhagavan, you must punish me some way or the other. He was praying for punishment. Very touching scene that we will see in the evening. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanto Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.